And Colin Hirsch was a specialist that had seen Steve Biko. And Colin Hirsch said to me, I'm under orders of secrecy, that this is a really terrible case, but I can't say anything to you. So then I knew that there was something much more than met the eye, and that's all I needed to go home and tell the editors that there was more to this than met the eye. Because Colin Hirsch gave me to believe, in his very cryptic way, that Steve Biko definitely did not die on a hunger strike, and something terrible had happened. And then eventually, we managed, through pursuing that route, to get to the pathologist, called Dr. Jonathan Gluck. He was a private pathologist, not a state pathologist, so he was much freer. But he then gave to us the pathology report, completely privately and secretly, obviously, in which it was quite clear in that pathology report that there were red blood cells in Biko's spinal fluid, which would only have been the case if it had brain damage. And the lumbar puncture that they'd done on Steve Biko revealed that he had died of brain damage. Now we had the medical report. And we got that very, obviously it was a source that released it to us. So the state hadn't classified that document. But we ran it the next day under no sign of hunger strike Biko doctors. And all hell broke loose. And they immediately convened the press council, which was a kind of quasi-judicial kangaroo court, at which I had to appear. And Sidney Kentridge defended me, but we had to defend our sources, obviously. So I couldn't put that evidence on the table. We were just sure it was right. And I was then found guilty of, I think it was tendentious and malicious reporting, and we had to publish an apology on the front page of the newspaper, which was an absolute outrage, given that we knew what the truth was. So we had to publish an apology. I was just devastated. And you know, when you're a young journalist, and a judge, it was Judge Oscar Galbraith, and he was a proper judge, but he was over this quasi-tribunal, judicial tribunal. He basically, when a judge says you're a tendentious and malicious reporter, you think your whole life's going down the drain, because this is your profession that you've chosen, and this is the label that you've been given in a public space. And what kind of credible journalist are you ever going to be after that? So I was very, very upset. And I remember Alistair, you know, tears and all that. It's so unfair because we know what the truth is, we know all of that. And he taught me a really important lesson. He said, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. You've got to take the heat, and it gets bloody hot in there. Anyway, we were able to push and push and push until they had to hold an inquest. And then Sidney Kentridge, because he defended me, also had a lot of the knowledge and is a brilliant cross-examiner. And he got them all before subpoenas, before the inquest. And he asked a lot of questions. And that brought out that Steve Biko had died during an alleged scuffle. But Magistrate Willem Prince, I'll never forget his name, came to the conclusion that nobody could be held responsible for his death. But we got it all out by that stage. So we had been murdered and that he had died of brain damage and all of that. So there's an editor that wasn't prepared to accept the answer of the minister, that was prepared to send me down to do a lot of work, that was prepared to back me up, that was prepared, and he actually, in fact, eventually got the pathologist report from Dr. Jonathan Gluck, that was prepared to back me up to write the story about it, so that was the key story about it. And that when I was being hammered by everybody, backed me up. Because I said to him, I've been referred to by judges as a tendentious and malicious reporter. I better resign. He said, no, you will not resign unless you can't take it. Because what you wrote is true. And he backed me up. And so it was a big moment. You know, I got death threats at the time. I had to move out of my flat. It was, you know, a very different kind of South Africa. But that's the story.